Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Once again, my name is Alex Nichols. I am here with the Figure Sales Success team for another exciting edition here of our Figure Sales Success webinar. We have a whole bunch planned for you today. Isn't that right, Rafe?
Yes, we do. We're going to go over how to audit your pipelines and how to turn maybe some no offers or declines into offers. So increasing your conversion rates. It's going to be kind of the big point of conversation today.
Yeah, so we kind of want to talk about that. The big reason being is that we have seen a lot of new enhancements over the last week, I would say. For a lot of you who may not know me, I've been doing this 5 years now with this particular product, and I'd probably say the last year has been the biggest for the number of changes we've made. Just recently, last Thursday, we went live with a 20-year term we're going to talk about, as well as I believe last Wednesday, we went live with a $750,000 increase to our max loan limit. So we will now go up to $750,000. It's going to require a manual appraisal, and we're going to talk all about that. But the big thing here to me is the fact that we are now offering more and more in the actual lead portal system itself, both for you as a loan officer with tools and functionality, as well as new offerings for your borrowers, right? A lot of our partners are also getting on the version 4 of our IntelliDebt system, where we also do junior lien payoff. So this is something we really wanted to talk about, right? As a lot of these changes are coming through, I've been going across the board, doing trainings for all our partners. Reef has been helping across the board as well, helping all those partners with sales meetings and calls. And we've really tried to brought up this topic of, hey, not only can you help clients now, right, with their new features and enhancements, but this is where you should probably go back through your pipeline and see if there's opportunity. This is where you can really dive in there. And to me, this is a big win, because if you can even get one, I mean, these are already your existing clients, right? You already have their information. They're already in your database, as well as you already know for the most part that they'll be a good fit. The only thing with it, maybe at that time, was their DTI was too high before we, enabled IntelliDebt, or maybe before we had, credit card payoff or junior lien payoff. Hey, maybe they were looking for a HELOC that was over $400,000, but ours only went up that high, so they didn't want to do it. But now we're doing them up to $750,000, so on and so forth. So we're going to talk about that and more. We're going to talk about tips and tricks. We're going to dive into best practices. Really, the big thing here is just monitoring the pipeline, right? We say run an inquiry. That's where you're going to begin. That's where it's going to give you the best offers. But don't stop there. Don't just look at that. And if a borrower gets no offers, you just go, all right, never mind. We'll move on to something else, right? Look at the details. Look at the information. See why that was, right? Look at all of that. Look at the, say AVM appraisal doc. Look at the information when it comes to CLTV, DTI, as well as now go back to your previous pipeline of your existing clients and say, hey, I have all these different files that had no offers. Why didn't they get offers, right? And if you still have permission for a soft credit pull, you can always just run new inquiries, see if they get offers now, right? Maybe their credit score is improved, who knows? So we're going to cover all of that and more, I think. So let's begin by beginning here. As always, I want to do some housekeeping items. First and foremost, hello, everyone on LinkedIn. We are live on LinkedIn as well as here in the Zoom. On top of that, thank you all. You are going to be muted for this for your audio enjoyment. If you do have questions, as always, we're going to be doing a Q&A section. There is a Q&A function here in Zoom. You can ask your questions there. So go ahead and post those. I'm also going to be monitoring the LinkedIn Live as well. So feel free. So we're going to be going through with that. And then, as always, I'm going to be sending out an email afterwards. That email is going to have copies of all the documentation we're going to be showing today. It's going to have links to reach out to us if you ever want to email us or schedule time with us, as well as it's going to have a whole bunch of more information, including new enhancements we're going to be talking about. So look forward to that. If I don't get it out today, I will get it out tomorrow, I promise. And this is being recorded, so keep that in mind. The recording goes up on our YouTube channel. A lot of people have been emailing me recently saying, hey, Alex, I missed the webinar. Where's the recording? Like, can I get a copy of that? We have a YouTube channel, and I'll link that in the email. You can subscribe, right? Never miss it. Ring the bell, all that stuff the kids say. But this is something where, again, I'll post all the recordings up on there in case you want to watch it. All right, Reef, I think I've rambled enough. People, get tired of me listening sometimes. So go ahead. What's our first topic here?
No worries. So let's talk about income, because that is by far the
topic.
biggest talking point for everybody. This, no matter what channel you're in, it's always income and how to verify it. Now, I will preface what we're about to talk about with we do not pull hard credit until income is verified. So, all your clients, this is a no harm, no foul process. Let them try to verify their income, let them exhaust all the options. If it works out, awesome, we'll pull hard credit. They're streamlined to closing. If it doesn't work and they've exhausted their options and they're just unable to verify their income for whatever the case is, everything is off of soft credit. Doesn't impact their credit score whatsoever, doesn't trigger leads. So it really is kind of a secure way to see if you can get people qualified. And then once they're qualified, their probability of conversion and closing is really high, right? So very few people will get their hard credit pulled, confirm their offers, and not close. So that really is the threshold. If we get them past income verification, two thumbs up, we're going to close. So let's talk about income, annual versus monthly. Now, in the mortgage industry, we use monthly numbers, right? We get it. But in our system, it's annual and it's gross as well. And people always ask, well, if you're linking bank accounts, you're only seeing the net deposits. How are you guys getting the gross amounts? That's true. So we have an internal calculation that happens that essentially takes those net deposits and it's going to gross those up and then it's going to annualize it. Our system looks back about 90 days. So those are where the deposits are going to be essentially analyzed to get that annualized income. So if you think about it, let's say we're in July, right? So we would go back, to June and May. But if you had clients get larger deposits in January, February, it's probably not going to catch that because it's only going back 90 days. It's going to average out, what it's seeing for those past, 90 days, and it's going to annualize it. So keep that in mind for the bank account linkage option because we have conversations all the time. Well, look back at January, look back at February, it's huge deposits. Well, it's not looking back there. Now, the other thing too is that when you think about income, you can essentially put whatever you like down, right? If there's a cash deposit, if there's a Zelle deposit, if there's a peer-to-peer Venmo or whatever it is, Cash App, those are all deposits and LOs will sometimes put that down, but our system does not qualify those deposits, right? What our system is looking for is W-2 style deposits. So think of cadence and consistency as, our boss likes to always say. It's got to be something that's regular, coming from a verifiable source, and it's happening at a regular pace. So weekly, bi-weekly, bi-monthly, monthly, whatever the case is, it's got to be kind of consistent. If it's erratic deposits, let's say you have cash deposits or even ACH deposits that 1 week it's $5,000, the next week it's 20 grand, the next week it's 2 grand. Well, the system's going to look at that as erratic deposits, and it's not going to look at that as regular income. So it's going to disqualify that. It does not look at balances, right? Like our system does not look at your balance. You could have $10 million in a checking account, for example, but you have no deposits the last 90 days. It's going to verify $0. So it doesn't look at balances either. It just looks at activity. So that gives you a little bit of the rationale of how you want to think about income, right? Annual versus monthly. You do not want to use monthly. Now, the other amazing thing about our system is that it's a single borrower product. So why is that great? Well, because we're only looking at one person's liabilities, right? So if we're only looking at one person's liabilities, and you can use, let's say, spousal income in community property and or homestead states, which the vast majority is, well, you just increased your chances of conversion and your chances of getting offers significantly, right? Because now you have two people's incomes and you're crossing that against one person's liabilities. So that DTI compression is not there. Now, a good rule of thumb that I try to tell every LO, every admin, every leader, regional, I try to let them know it's a good idea to run as many inquiries as you can, right? The inquiry process takes, we've demonstrated, Alex has demonstrated it. It takes probably 30 seconds to a minute once you get really comfortable with it to see those offers. So why not run an inquiry for all vested owners? If you have a husband and a wife, let's say they're both vested owners and the property is in, let's say, California, you should run an inquiry for the husband and you should run an inquiry for the wife, and you should use both incomes that you're using on both of those as matching income totals. So if husband makes $100,000, wife makes $100,000, you would put $200,000 of gross income in that box, and you would run one for the husband, you'd run one for the wife. Why is that advantageous? Well, it's advantageous because let's say the husband has a lower FICO, but no debts really. So their DTI is a lot better, right? But let's say the wife has a much higher FICO, but the debts are a lot higher. Well, the system's going to look at that in different ways, and it's going to present you different offers and rates depending on the risk, analysis that happens there. But essentially, you might be surprised that the person that you think is going to get the best offers and rates might not be that person. So why guess, right? You should run one for both folks and let the system tell you, right? The system will answer your questions. You don't have to pull property reports. You don't need to pull your clients' credit profiles and start analyzing their credit. You don't have to do any of that. The system will tell you. And again, all soft credit, right? Doesn't trigger leads, none of that stuff. So keep that in mind when it comes to just how you want to frame these prequals, because when you're running an inquiry, you get to drive the first part. You get to kind of vet the information. You can ensure that the info is correct. When your clients do the application for some of the retail correspondent partners that we have on the webinar here today, well, you might just be sending out a link, right? Well, if you send out a link, the clients don't know this, right? So borrowers are just going to put in whatever income they think. So maybe a borrower puts in monthly income. Maybe a borrower only puts in their own income when they actually could use their spouse's income, which is going to compress their offers. It might even lead to a no offer or a decline, right? So when the borrower drives everything and they're using like a direct link, for example, well, there's a decline experience, even if the information is incorrect, right? And then truly they should have offers. There's a decline experience, there's an adverse action notice that happens. But when you, as the LO, runs the inquiry in Lead Portal, even if there's no offers, there's no decline experience because it's not an application, right? It's a real-time calculator slash offer generator scenario tool. Like it's for you to see true offers and rates for a client, and then if you like what you see, you sign your name and you send it off, and now they'll drive the application. But you vetted out the first part, which is the most important part, right? It's like the income that's going to be put down, the property address, the property type, things like that. So very powerful to use the inquiry tool, even if you have the direct link. We always say use that direct link for kind of gathering new clients, maybe using it for marketing tools. You can do QR codes, you can do pamphlets, you can put it on email signatures. Anyone that clicks on that link, and again, this is for our retail partners, right? This is not going to be applicable for wholesale, but for our retail partners, it's a great way to get new clients. And then when they click that link and they start the file, they automatically get put into your pipeline, right? So think of Lead Portal as a pseudo CRM in a sort. So then you can then go in there and audit those direct link applications and see, well, did this client, they put $50,000 for their income. Do they know they can use spousal income? This property is in Florida. This property is in Arizona. It's in Nevada. Those are states you can use spousal income. And then let's say they got offers, but maybe you give them a call and say, hey, John, do you make $50,000 a year? Oh, okay, you do. Are you married? Oh, you are married. How much does your wife make? Oh, your wife makes $100,000 a year. Okay, let's cancel this one out. Let me run an inquiry for you, and I'm going to put $150,000 down because that's going to increase your offers. It's going to give you better rates. It's going to do those things. And very few LOs do this. And then once they start doing this, they start realizing, well, even my direct link folks who have offers are actually getting offers way less than what they should get. So this is kind of the ethos of this, this webinar today. So Alex, if you have something you want to touch on
Yeah,
those.
I was gonna say that's a really good point, and I want to focus on what Reef just said. You can get offers for your clients, but that may not necessarily be the most they could get if we are missing information. So let me reiterate what Reef said there, right? It is annual income. This is gross income. It includes bonus. It includes overtime. More is better than less. And we're going to get into it. If they started maybe a newer job, we can take that kind of income. We don't look at multiple years and say average it out. Now, this is the important thing here, right? Is we can take spousal income in community property and homestead states, and that's exclusive of title ownership. I have been asked that 1,000 times because obviously, right, there are so many different products out there where this is important, but with us, we make it really easy. If they're in a community property or homestead state, we can include the spousal income. And to reiterate Reef's point, right, for those with a direct referral link where you send a link for the borrower to start, not using the inquiry, even though it's called out, this is in smaller font, and I wish it was bigger, to include spousal income, how it works, what they should include. other income sources, right? Because especially now that we have $750,000 as our max, the borrower is going to put in their income. They may potentially get offers to Reeves Point, but that may not be all of the offers. And for you as a loan officer, right, us in the world working on comp, the higher the total loan amount, the better. So this is something where, to reiterate, the borrower can verify via different methods: checking accounts, taxes, pay stubs, asset accounts. There's a whole bunch of different ways for them to do it. And something I've been bringing up a lot recently as well with loan officers is these methods don't stack, but we'll take the highest out of what's linked. So there's no penalization, right? A lot of other products out there's stuff you have to worry about, right? Hey, if we link taxes and it's lower, then it really kind of screws up the system. With us, we're going to take the highest out of what they link. They're going to be given the options. I'll show that later. But keep this in mind. I want to show this here in a second. With the borrower, they're also going to have the option to upload their most recent pay stub or award letters. And same thing with the spouse on that application, right? They can upload their spouse's pay stub, let's say. And we're taking the most recent pay stub. This most recent pay stub, we're going to be looking at gross income, bonus, all of that on there. So if they just started a job, this could also be very powerful. Just know this takes 1 to 2 business days. This is a longer time than I would say an automated method. And it'll let them know, hey, you've only verified X. If they don't verify enough to continue, it'll have them either select an alternative offer where it'll say, hey, you don't qualify for 100,000, but you qualify for 80,000, or they can try the other methods like I was talking about. So the important thing to me is income verification takes a minute or two to get to. It is only soft credit. Into Reeves' point, right? This is the biggest hurdle. So what I want to do is I want to show you my pipeline. I want to show you the lead portal system here and what we're talking about as you work as a loan originator. So if I go ahead, I'm going to share my screen here. We're going to dive into the pipeline, right? So if we take a look at this individual, right, Carlos, if you've been on my trainings before, you know Carlos quite well. But we see I have an inquiry here that has no offers. This is my point of this webinar. Because it says no offers, a lot of loan officers will move on. That's not always the case. It's just the information put into the system, right? Like Reef said, it's a calculator. It's just kicking out a number, right? But calculators, we can put in whatever numbers we want for the most part. So if we go into the action menu here and go into the details, should be up to you as a loan originator to review it before you move on. So we can see here, it says no offers. It's going to give us the reasoning, right? PTI, big reason. DTI eligibility is another one. Product eligibility. So you as a loan originator, you can look at that and you can think to yourself, okay, looks like it didn't work out, right? All of this isn't working. But what I see time and time again, right? We onboard new partners. I personally do the training for every single partner that onboards, right? So you've probably seen me one way or another, probably a recording. But very specifically, what will happen is I will review the pipeline 2 weeks afterwards. What happens with so many LOs is they put in monthly income. So they'll put in the monthly income and the stated total income amount, say 7,000. And then what's going to happen is the DTI is 660%. And I've personally emailed LOs and I've said, hey, I was just looking at this file. You should probably rerun that. I hope they don't make 7,000 annually, right? This is the same thing with borrowers. If you have a direct referral link, you can review that information in there. What did the borrower put in, right? As well as think about this. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be sending out some documentation. That documentation is going to list those states for community property and homestead, and I'll actually show you what that looks like. With that in mind, you can review those if you don't know it is most states, but see what it is with your borrowers, right? Make sure they're including the spouse's income. So I'm going to be sending out drive links. This is one example for our wholesale partners. I'll send multiple for those that are correspondent and likewise. But if you go in, we'll have demo videos, HELOC documents, lead portal, job aids, that kind of thing. If we go into the HELOC documents, all made by me, by the way, I'm going to brag a little bit. but there's going to be very specifically a product guide. This is the most important document for you. This is going to detail all the documentation when it comes to this. So you can read through the whole product, eligibility matrix, all of this, how it works. But if we scroll down, and I find it, we have income verification. It's going to have spousal income states. So if we look at this, I can even post this in the chat, right? I can just copy and paste this information. Look at this. I'm pasting it right now. There you go. This is the states where we can include spousal income, and notice it's most of them. So very important to understand if the states you work in include that kind of information. And especially now that we're going over 750,000, right? That's our max total now. This is going to be big to me, right? Even though they maybe have got an offer, right? If it works for the borrower, great. They move on, they get funded quickly, right? I'm not saying stop them, but I am saying double check when it comes to this kind of information, when it comes to income verification. Because to Reeve's point, this is the biggest part of the application where borrowers have questions. And once they're past that, it is really downhill.
Yeah, and there's a few things I want to point out. Alex does a great job as always, showing this information, but I want you guys to pay attention how Alex found it. He didn't go open a PDF from his dashboard, right? He went to the resource drive and he viewed it in the drive. It's so important. I have conversations with AEs, regionals all the time, and they'll tell me your documents say this, your documents say that, and I say, okay, let's screen share. Show me where you're finding your document, and they'll go to their folder that they have for HELOCs, and they'll pull up a PDF, and I'll say, okay, well, you downloaded this PDF 4 months ago from our Google Drive. A lot of things change in the same week, let alone over 4 months, as Alex definitely knows. So the best way to utilize that resource drive is to bookmark it, right? Add it to your web browser, right? Wherever you want, put it to your bookmark bar, wherever the case is. And anytime you need it, just go to it and reference it. Because if you view it in the Google Drive and you're not downloading anything, it actually is really advantageous because you're seeing the most up-to-date info. And Alex continually is updating that information all the time. So if you have something from even a week ago, it's probably outdated. So don't download it, just view it, right? And you can see how quickly you can get a lot of these answers. Now, there's a few other things I want to touch on too, that's kind of important. So when it comes to spousal income, this is the pushback I get sometimes from LOs, and rightfully so, because this is how the mortgage industry works. But they'll say, "Hey, the spouse is not on title; we can't use their income." I'm like, "Well, we actually don't care if they're on title or not, because guess what? We don't have co-borrowers, we don't have co-applicants, we don't have co-signers." Right? So since we do not care about the other person's credit profile or even ownership, as long as they're legally married to the primary, who is a vested owner, right? To be the primary applicant, you do have to be a vested owner. But to use spousal income, they do not have to be on title. They do not have to be a vested owner. They just need to be married to that individual. Now, even take it a little step further, they're like, well, the spouse doesn't want to sign, any documents or anything. Well, depending on the state, right? If it's community property and or homestead, spouses do have to sign our product. Like, they do have to sign the docs at the end, but that's just an additional signer. They're not actually being financially responsible for this HELOC. This HELOC is not going to be reflected on their credit profile, and they're not going to be like financially responsible in terms of like it showing up on their credit report or them having to pay this, right? It's not that. It's just them acknowledging that there's going to be a lien placed against a property that they have rights to through marriage, right? That's the communal laws. So really no harm, no foul. Again, another aspect of our product where you can leverage spousal income and they're not even part of the deal at all, right? So those are things you want to definitely think about. It is different in our system. I do understand that, but it is very powerful if you leverage that. Now, I will touch on something else here. New jobs, right? I have LOs always asking, say, hey, my client just got a new job. They've only been there 3 weeks. They haven't worked in the past 4 years, 5 years. They're not going to be eligible for your product, right? Well, that's not true. They will be. So will they be able to link their bank accounts? Probably not, because the bank accounts, when they link those bank accounts through Plaid, it looks back 90 days. Well, if they've been at a new job for 3 weeks, well, that's not going to work, right? Can they link taxes? Well, no, they can't, because we only look at 2024 and they haven't worked in 3 years. But guess what? They're W-2, right? So if they're W-2, they can provide their most current pay stub. They might only have one pay stub to show, but our team will look at that and annualize that one pay stub for the year and give them annualized income credit. So a lot of LOs are automatically just kind of saying this isn't going to work just because of what they know in the mortgage industry, right? Our systems are different. That's why it's really important for you to kind of learn the product and the process and think of it as a different, essentially a different process than everything you've ever seen before. This isn't a normal HELOC, right? There's no variable option, there's no balloon payment. It's a fixed rate, it's fully amortizing, right? Principal plus interest monthly payments. It's a HELOC because they can draw funds back out as they make their payments, either lump sum or monthly obligations, whatever it is. It's a different product, it's a different system. So, it might not work in another scenario, but it could work in ours. So it's definitely something to spend a little time getting more familiar with, and we'll help you as best we can too.
I like that. Now, what's really also important to me is the fact that it is not just income verification to focus on, right? When it comes to learning the process and the product. Again, we have made huge changes, not just to the term, not just to the maximum loan amount. So I want to show you something. And I believe we showed this on a previous webinar, but let's say, for example, I'm running an inquiry. So I'm in our lead portal system. I'm running the inquiry for my borrower, right? Got that total annual income in there, right? And spousal income's included, like we've been talking about. Well, I'm going to hit continue. And when I hit confirm, what's going to happen is it's going to pull that initial AVM and it is going to fail. The reason it's going to fail is because it cannot identify which property it is. Now, if you've used us in the past, you know that we had some manual ways to fix this, but it would take time. The inquiry would break, you'd have to call our customer operations center, it could take a while. So what we've done is we've added in the ability for you as the LO to manually select the property when multiple are detected. So for example, here, it just says, hey, we don't know what avenue number it is, right? I forgot to put in the avenue number. So now as a loan officer, you can go in and select it. And I want to make this clear, this is on the inquiry. It is not on a direct referral link. You as a loan officer are going to continually get more and more tools as we expand on the features in Lead Portal. Here's the big one though to me. This is the biggest thing. Let's look at another example. Let's say, for example, we go through, it does an AVM, we go through 4 vendors, waterfall approach, all of that, and it does not have a high enough confidence score in the liens on the property. This happens all the time when someone has a lot of secondary investment properties. It detects, all the liens under their name, and the system doesn't know which goes where. Well, previously, what would happen was you would get no offers, and that was it. Automated system, we tell you, hey, we can't manually intervene. Well, what can potentially happen now is if everything else is perfect, you may see this screen. It's not going to happen all the time. But what it's going to say in these situations where it's saying, hey, the lien simply could not automatically verify, we're going to have you manually do it as the loan officer. So you can go in here and select the liens on the property, right? Select, deselect. You can add mortgages or other liens, or say the property is free and clear. This is going to add on an additional instant title step. Here's my point to this. You may have seen me talk about this before, but here's my point. You can go back to your pipeline. You can look at previous files. You may have had situations where there were issues with liens before we had this enhancement. This is a recent one. So that is where you can rerun an inquiry to then see, 1, what is pulled when we do that AVM, and 2, if the situation comes up, you may be able to go ahead and manually select the liens. So this has been saving a lot of loans for loan officers where previously it wouldn't. And there's a long history when it comes to this page. But again, we're going to continually expand on new features and new enhancements.
That's incredible stuff right there, right? The borrower has no options to do that. So when you go edit and you go audit your existing pipelines, right, or things that have happened historically, you should go look at that. Maybe they couldn't pick the right property and it said no property found. Maybe like they were not able to incorporate liens for payoff, and now you can. So that's when you can go back into those pipelines, look at your details page, and then identify opportunities there.
Wow, that's actually a really good point. I have never thought about that. That is a good point, Reef. Yeah, if someone uses your direct referral link, since they won't get the option, they may not get offers, right? They won't get offers if the liens are wrong. So then you can look at that and then you run an inquiry, you as a loan officer will have those kind of different options. So that is a really good point, Reef. I like that.
Yeah, I'll be candid, I'll be transparent with you guys. Our system was not the greatest before in terms of being able to modify and change things like that. So we could have a property where you run an inquiry and it gives you no offers because it shows two liens or three liens on a property. And those two or three liens are actually attached to different homes that that primary applicant owns. For example, let's say they have four homes and they have four mortgages, where our system might catch two or three of those mortgages and attach it to the subject property, even though it's not actually truly tied to it. And our system took a conservative approach because we didn't have a way to really parse through that information at that time. So what our system did was, hey, John here has four mortgages associated with his credit profile. We're not sure which property this actually goes with, so we're just going to attach it to this property and take a conservative approach. And now maybe there's two mortgages showing on a property that's truly free and clear. Well, you didn't have any choices at that point, right? It was pivot them to something else. Well, now you can go back and audit some of those files and reach out to those clients and say, hey John, are you still interested? Our tools are actually a little bit more updated. I might be able to modify the liens that are attached to your property. I think I can do free and clear and actually show the system that the property is free and clear, and we can rerun it. Oh, look, now you qualify for $400,000. So those are things that LOs aren't truly doing. And you know what ends up happening when that doesn't happen is those borrowers go somewhere else, right? They find someone else that's going to help them. They find someone else that's going to assist them. Now they become a client of somebody else. Well, now they helped them when you couldn't help them. Now they start building a relationship with them. It's a slippery slope, right? So it will actually, I think, benefit you in the long run to spend a little time and going back and looking through your pipelines for sure.
Yeah, and I honestly want to focus on that as well. What Reef just said there is even if our system doesn't work, to me, what's important is about helping the client, right? I've had a lot of loan officers who have scoffed at the idea of a HELOC, and they go, I just tell my clients, just go to a credit union. I don't want to deal with them. You send a client to a credit union, you may never get them back, right? It's a HELOC today, it's a refinance down the road, it's a purchase down the road. To me, this is a conversation outside figure, it's outside of HELOCs, right? Do everything in your power to retain clients, to retain your database, everything that you can to help them out. Helping people should be your number one priority. Again, because it's not about just today's product, it could be something down the line. So to go back to that point, right, to what Reef was saying, maybe you help them out with a HELOC, right? This would be the golden opportunity. You look back at your previous pipeline, you end up being able to help them out with a HELOC because, hey, now we do junior lien payoffs, or hey, now we do credit card qualifications, and suddenly they can get offers, and boom, next thing you know, it's a refi down the road, it's a purchase, it's this, it's that. So just keep that in mind, right? This is really going to be a tool that we're going to keep expanding out in a way for you to continue to leverage that. And again, it's just soft credit, doesn't trigger leads. Borrower's not going to know if no offers are available.
So you might be asking yourself, well, do I have access to this? Well, yes, you're going to have access to the lead portal, but depending on the organization you are with, you're going to have, maybe you have DDP1, you have DDP4, whatever the case is. And that's just our IntelliDebt Direct Debt Payoff acronym. So the way you're going to find out is reach out to us, right? Email us. We'll put our email in the chat. Shoot us an email and say, hey, I am with organization X. Do we have this capability to pay off liens or to pay off credit cards or auto loans or personal loans? And we'll help you. We are working with all our partners to try to get everybody onboarded to have this feature and enhancement, but there is some steps that the organization leaders have to do in order to incorporate it. So we're working on that. Every day I feel like we're seeing a new partner going live with these features, helping their LOs help more people. So just reach out to us and we'll let you know. I do want to touch on, I know we talked about income quite a bit, but there are a few things. So Nancy is asking about Zelle payments for rental income on a monthly basis. Now, we did touch on how Plaid works before, but I want you to think about rental income. So rental income is huge, right? Well, if it's coming in Zelle or peer-to-peer, it's not going to work in our system. It's just not going to pull it. Now, if those clients are showing that income on their taxes, well, easy fix. You can just link up their 2024 taxes, boom, it captures it that way. Now, I want to tell you about folks that are very successful with the rental income verification. It's folks that use property management companies. So if you have clients that have property managers, right, and property manager companies, They usually get paid rent once a month, right? Minus the fees, whatever the case is. But it's usually an ACH deposit into a bank account. Now, if that bank account happens to be a personal bank account, and understood that most of the time it's going into a business account, and I understand our system is not at the moment able to link business accounts. Hopefully that changes in the future, but currently it doesn't. But let's just say it goes into a personal bank account, or they switch it to a personal bank account for at least 3 months. Well, now they can link up that bank account, and our system will look at that ACH deposit as regular, consistent income, and it will annualize that for the year. Really easy way to capture rental income, right? Now, is this, common practice? Probably not, but it is another tool, right? Let's say you have a client that doesn't need a HELOC for at least 4, 5, 6 months. They're getting their deposits via a property manager company, but it's going into their business account. Maybe have them put it into a personal bank account. Maybe that might help with our system and verifying that income.
Mhm.
So, just different things, little tweaks here and there could really change the difference between qualifying and not qualifying somebody. And
Now,
go ahead, Alex.
I was gonna say, I see someone with their hand raised. I believe, Shay, you are raising your hand for a question, and I want to give you the opportunity. So, if you go ahead, unmute yourself if you are there, and go ahead and ask your question. If not, that's okay. We're all a little shy too.
Yeah, no worries.
Perfectly fine. So with that, I do want to show a couple things here before we jump over to a full Q&A. I do want to show the recent enhancements if you all have not seen those before. Let me share my screen. We have increased our max loan amount to 750,000. Alex, why do you keep repeating that? Well, Alex thinks it's pretty good. So very much here, what you're going to see is you're going to see new offerings for your borrowers. One big thing I do want to call out with that is the origination fee now caps at $12,000. So just keep that in mind, right? We did not want them to pay $20,000, $30,000, whatever it is for an origination fee. So there will be a flat fee of $12,000 if it ever breaches that. A couple other things to note here. What's my demo? Oh, it's not in a demo. Oh my gosh, I can actually do this. Look at this. Look at this, everyone. I'm not in a demo. I have free reign. Look at that. Woo! So very much here as I'm having fun, we do have a 20-year term. So we have removed the 5-year term. No one was using it. No reason for it. So we put in a 20-year term based on a lot of your feedback. Again, this is how this product gets better, is your feedback. Your feedback and our engineers working day and night on a lot of coffee. So we'll have the 20-year term, and just in case you're curious, the 20-year term has a 4-year redraw period, same as the 15. Now, with this IntelliDebt system, again, we are continually expanding this out. So this is going to be something where you can look back, you can rerun inquiries, look at previous files. But to reiterate, we pay credit cards, personal loans, auto loans, home improvement loans, and for Figure Wholesale, we do junior liens. And for a lot of our partners, more and more are getting on that version 4. So to Reeve's point, check with us, check internally to see if you have that functionality, because this is what I tell everyone when they get on that new feature. Go back to your pipeline, see who that wasn't for, right? Very specifically here, it's also going to do full calcs. What do I mean by that? Let's say, for example, it's a primary property. It was in third lien position. Okay, we have offers, but it's capping the CLTV at 70%. They're getting a low amount of money. Well, if we select this junior lien to pay off, it's going to recalc that as if it was second lien. Boom. Now they're getting much better offers, going up to much higher CLTV, and so on and so forth. So keep this in mind. We're going to keep adding on more and more great features. Last thing I have to really say here on this particular screen, let's say we go above $400,000. Well, there's going to be a manual appraisal. So I'm going to reiterate this a lot too. There's going to be a manual appraisal. Your borrower does have to pay it out of pocket during the application process. And this is something where once we pull hard credit, they're going to go ahead and receive an email letting them know, hey, this is how much the appraisal is. This is how much you can pay. And that third-party servicer is going to handle the appraisal. But you'll see an estimate. This is just an estimate, but it gives you an idea to have a conversation with your borrower on how much they're going to have to pay going through that application. So keep in mind, 400,000, above 400,000 is going to be an appraisal. 400,000 and below, just as previously, is still an AVM. So keep all that in mind.
Alex, do you think we can show, and I'll give you a minute because I have something else to touch on, but do you think we can show everyone a essentially a declined file where they can go in and look at the details and see the reason, and then they can then go to their resource drive, look at the decline reasons doc, and identify what that reason is when they do audit some of those pipeline stuff, so they can kind of see true declines versus maybe not so true declines. Obviously, FICO score, things like that, we can't, there's not much you can do unless the FICO has changed. So keep in mind that that is something that most LOs, they believe that we reuse our soft scores. We do not. So every time you do an inquiry, it's a fresh soft pull from Experian. So that could change hour by hour, day by day. So if things
Mhm.
change on their credit profile, we're going to get that information. So
So I actually am a fantastic trainer who is very handsome, and I already have everything preloaded for you, Reef. So if we take a look at my pipeline here, let's say, and I'm going to go ahead and scroll down, we see some declined apps. I want to focus on this one from Carlos once again. So we see a declined application. It was for 278,000, let's say. Well, if I want to see the reasons for this decline, what I can do is I can click on the options menu, action menu, I should say, and it'll have the little details function there. If I click on details, what it's going to do is it's going to show me the full details, underwriting, all that we talked about. And just like no offers on the right-hand side, it's going to show me that progress bar. It's going to show me when it was declined, at what step it was declined, and it's going to give me the reason for the decline. Now, I don't know why this was declined. Reef, I'm curious. I have a question for you. What does credit incomplete mean?
I have no idea, Alex. How would I identify what credit incomplete means if I do not know what it means? How would I get that information?
That is going to be, we have a full document for that. So if we go back to this drive, I'll send out in the email after this. There is going to be full kind of information when it comes to it. So you will have number one, an app stages document that's going to detail every stage in case you're curious about it. But more importantly, to Reef's point, there's a decline codes reason. There's also a no offers reason in the lead portal folder. But here, very specifically, right, we'll have decline reasons. You can scroll through every single one that it would be. So we can see here, credit incomplete. What does that mean? Application expired in 14 days, meaning they have not reached hard credit, meaning soft credit expired, meaning there was nothing wrong with it. The borrower just didn't complete the application in time. So it's not a real decline in my mind. I mean, it is by compliance and legality. But to me, you would call up the client and say, hey, why didn't you complete that? Hey, let's get you started again, right? And get you through that. So this is just something I see a lot where a lot of the times loan officers will email me, email us at Sales Success and be like, why was this declined? My borrower's perfect. Like, it's ridiculous. You guys declined him. And then I'll look and I'll be like, oh, the borrower didn't proceed for some reason. Like they were just sitting there waiting around. So keep that in mind. Obviously, a lot of this, right? And the reason we have this document is their actual codes from our system, right? So a lot of this you can kind of decipher. Maybe some of them you can't. Some of them are a bit, worded a bit weird. So I try to put it in here to make it as clear as possible. And there are support options as well for you if you ever want to dive in with our customer operations team for more information on those.
Yep, and it's funny in real time as you're showing that, Cara asked if there was a PDF breakdown of the decline reasons or the no offer reasons, and
There we go. I will send it out. There's going to be a link, one for retail. So if you're one of our correspondent retail partners, one for wholesale, like Figure Wholesale, Loan Store, any of your wholesale brokerage partners. If you're not too sure, I mean, you can ask us more or less. But there isn't too many variants, I will say. There's just some small differences. So I will have two different links for you.
And also, let's touch on the Google Drive thing that Kara said here, or Kara. Essentially, that is true. Like sometimes you might have firewalls with your company, right? That doesn't
Yes.
allow you to open up
Yes.
Google Drives, and that's okay. You probably have a personal computer or your phone, right? You can actually find these Google Docs on your phone. You can put them there. You can bookmark it onto a web browser. It'll open up, no issue. You can also put it on your personal computer, right? So we can't obviously do anything about the firewalls with different companies, but you can still access this information when you need it. It doesn't necessarily have to be on your work computer, right? Because if you're at home or if you're in the office, you have your phone always, right? And your phone's probably not dictated by your company. So you can access those Google Drives there. That's probably the easiest way to do it. But I know LOs and admins that have their own personal laptop next to their computer at home or in their office, and they access that Google Drive in their own computers. So we understand that in the future, maybe it won't be a Google Drive, but as of right now, that is the way you're going to have to access it. So
Actually, I was going to say that, Reef. You all may have noticed, but very specifically, what I am working on is hopefully in a few months, you're going to see all that living in this new Resource Center tab in Lead Portal. So, very important is that this is going to be a little bit before this is live. So, I have heard a lot of feedback when it comes to those security features. There's one partner in particular, if you're listening, you know what I'm talking about, where it is difficult, right, to access Google sometimes. So let us know, if you are having difficulties. We have another option for those that can't access Google. Reef said it best, though, if you do have a personal account, I have those links open to anyone. But we will here sometime this year have it all just living in Lead Portal, so you don't have to worry about security settings.
Another thing, Alex, let's see how great Alex is as a trainer and how handsome he is as he does this. Can we show a file that has a status that is the true application stage is at the top, but maybe on the milestone chart it shows something different, like Gen Notary disclosure or anything that basically the point of this is that the milestone chart on the right is not all the application stages of a file. It's just giving you a general idea of where your client is in the sales funnel. So from beginning to close, it shows you a general idea, but a lot of LOs look over there and they get confused and they say, well, they're at notary prep already, or they're at notary, or they've already passed income verification, or whatever the case is, because it might not show you the exact stage that the file is in, but at the top, you're going to always see the true application stage. And then if we can also show them how they can find out what that application stage means, that would be awesome too. Let's see
Oh,
how.
absolutely, Reef. I'm always prepared, I would say. Uh,
Always.
so in your pipeline, very specifically, I have it filtered, right? You have filters up here. I just wanted to show this particular one. This status right here, this bubble, this is the true status. So let me go into the actions menu. Let me go to the details. That's going to show me this as a full breakdown, right, with all the details and everything. But on this right-hand side, I see a lot of confusion from LOs, as Reef was saying, which I understand. These are just milestones, same as the ones you get emails about. These are a high-level look at what's going on. These are not all the actual statuses. So if we scroll to the top, this bubble, same as the last one, that's the actual status. So really specifically here, this is telling you where it's at and what's going on. Now you're asking yourself, those words don't make sense to me, right? I don't expect those words to make sense to anyone. Individually, I know what notary is or I know what disclosure is, but together, they don't make a lot of sense. So to go back to my previous point, right, we do have a full document, the app stages document here. Once again, I made it. I need a promotion one day. But here very specifically, right, if we go through, it's going to go through every single stage of the application, and you're going to be able to find where these are at. So the biggest one to me is before note signing, what's going to happen is what's called gen closing disclosure. This is in case our system detects any discrepancies, it stops the application for our operations team to do a manual review. So a lot of the times we'll get questions from loan officers because it will show on the right-hand side note signing, because that's more or less the milestone they're around. But what it's really at is gen closing disclosures. So you can read through it, you can check it, pretty simple here. In case you're curious, gen notary disclosure is just when our ops team is preparing things for notary. We do have a milestone called notary preparation. I think that makes that one clear. But just keep that in mind, right? For everything that's in there, that's going to live there. I do have to update it for the new appraisal stage for HELOCs over 400,000. But everything else in there is going to be there for you.
That's incredible. Thank you, Alex. You are the best, and you deserve all the promotions and all the raises.
You too, Reed. Thank you.
The last thing I will touch on for you guys is this. Alex actually mentioned this earlier, but it's such a sticking point that I want to say it again is our system does not punish your clients for showing too much information. Think of income verification. Traditionally, loan officers are almost kind of like they're almost like lawyers, right? You can confide in them, you can tell them everything about your income statuses and your income and everything that's going on, and they will parse that information and only show what is going to benefit you in, to the underwriter, whatever the case is. Our system works differently. Okay, we're not going to punish your clients for showing too much information, a la their taxes don't show as much as their bank accounts do, or their bank accounts show more than their taxes do. Whatever the case is, they can exhaust all the options. Our system will take the one that verifies the most and use that as income. So don't feel that you need to get in there and act like a filter for your clients to, hey, don't link your taxes because we don't want them to see that, or don't link that bank account because they might not see enough deposits. It's not going to punish them. So please let them exhaust all the options. Okay, it's not going to punish them at all. If anything, it's actually going to increase their probability of getting funded and qualified. So that's huge. Okay, keep that in mind. And the other thing is, if you don't have to show it, you can if you have it, but on your dashboard, you have two sections that say expiring soon and conditions. That's a really great place to go to find out which files need a little bit more help. That is where I would spend my time if I was an LO, focusing on my pipeline, is I would focus on the ones that are expiring soon because maybe your borrower is dragging their feet or whatever the case is, and I'd reach out to them, see what's going on, or the ones that have conditions that you can help fulfill anyway, if you like. Your borrowers can fulfill the conditions themselves via their dashboard, but you as the LO also has the chance to do that. Those are the places I would click on, and it's interactive. When you click on that on your dashboard, it takes you to those files that fall under the conditions tab or the expiring soon tab. So very interactive. We're trying to do as much as we can to set you guys up for success and your clients. Please utilize it. The more time you spend in the lead portal, the more efficient you're going to get out of all this too.
All right, folks. So that was really it for our presentation today, I suppose. I did put a link here in the chat, salessuccessatfigure.com. You can reach us for sales advice, strategy, schedule time with us. Keep in mind, you have other support avenues for individual file questions. We're here for more or less the big picture, right? Things of this nature, training. You can, again, schedule time if you really want to dive into these topics. Now, for the remainder of this, we are going to dive, I think, into the remainder of the Q&A here, Reef. That sound good?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I'll start, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Anna is asking about figure HELOCs and essentially being able to refi them with other ones and vice versa. Obviously, we can do this, right? That's now, does your organization have that capability or not? We're not 100% sure because we don't know which org you're attached to. So shoot us an email. Alex just put that in there. We'll be able to identify if you do have the capability to incorporate lien payoffs. And yes, you can pay off figure HELOCs. Yes, you can pay off other ones as well. Either way. Sean, do you guys have a pricing engine we can use? If not, will you be offering it in the near future? I'm assuming he's asking about just doing kind of pseudo files to see what you kind of get. We can't do that, but the inquiry tool is better because it's all internal anyway. And you get
let me answer that too in a bit more detail, right? We are currently working on a piggyback product and a DSCR product. DSCR works very similar to the HELOC. It has an inquiry tool. Piggyback, though, we do have that calculator, right? Doesn't pull soft credit, shows the eligibility. You just pop in your information because it's a piggyback. We're going to tell you what the rate is. Here's the deal, though, with the HELOC, right? With this upcoming DSCR, we rely on that inquiry tool because it's going to be pulling in all that information to give you accurate offers. So we do not want to rely on rate sheets. We do not rely on the kind of all this other information because you're going to get a response in a minute or two. Plus, real number, right? You're going to see a higher conversion of a 50% or more when it comes to the inquiry tool as opposed to the direct referral link some of our partners have. So different than maybe you've seen on other products, right, that may have a similar tool, but the inquiry tool itself is extremely powerful. All you just need is permission for that soft credit pull, and you're going to know immediately what their offers are.
It's truly a pricing engine is what it is because it doesn't send, like Alex said, right? It doesn't send anything. So it is a pricing engine, but it's an accurate pricing engine and only you see that info. You can price check all day long and no one would ever know. So do it that way. Cindy, if they receive an approval, for example, 300K, but only need 100K, can they return the 200 via payment and will it re-amortize? Yes, you can do that. There are EPOs for comp, depending on your organization. Our standard is 90% or more of the HELOC cannot be paid back within 16 weeks. That is just 4 months, right? Those are 4 monthly payments. In that case, you're not breaching that 90%, right? So if they paid back the 200K, let's say the day they get it, it would re-amortize over whatever term they chose, 5, 10, 15, or 30. and it would recast for you. Anytime, actually, this goes for all HELOCs that we offer. Anytime 10% or more of the outstanding balance is paid back, it's going to auto recast. You don't need to request it. You don't need to do anything like that. So monthly payment will go down, maturity date stays the same, and it's a way to leverage. It's always a fixed rate too. So it's really nice. And then they can redraw those funds back out. Now, I think we touched on this earlier, but for redraw terms, we have 3, 4, 4, and 5. They are respective to our new terms, which are 10, 15, 20, and 30. Okay, so that's how much time they have to redraw those funds back out. No limit on how many times they can do that. $500 is their minimum amount that they can redraw. But yeah, that's how that would work. Complete. So I actually finished typing this out. David's asking about, files that convert to a complete status. So it doesn't actually matter if it's complete or not. If your borrower has gotten their funds, that means comp and everything else is going to get paid out as well. Recording is really what everything depends on. In some counties, they can take weeks, days, months to record the instrument. So until the recording is complete, the file actually doesn't convert to a complete status, but that doesn't actually delay any funding or compensation. So don't worry about that being updated. Once your borrower gets the funds, you're good to go. Cool.
Yeah, I've been pushing for the funding date to be in Lead Portal because I feel like that's important information. Keep in mind it's automatic, right? It's an ACH. It can take 1 to 3 business days for the funds to be available in their account. That's on their institution. There's nothing we can do about that. So we get a lot of questions on that, being like, hey, when's the funding going to happen? As soon as notary's over, rescission's over, all that. Don't worry about recording or anything. We handle that.
Anna said she's with First Alliance. So I was taking a peek. I know First Alliance just became a retail partner recently from you.
Yes. So unfortunately there, Anna, First Alliance Home Mortgage has direct debt payoff, but they do not have version 4. So you cannot pay off junior liens. So at this time, you would not have that functionality. We are working with them, though, on getting that enhancement built in. Here's the kicker, right? FAM used to be with Figure Wholesale. Figure Wholesale has the newest and greatest when it comes to it. So if you are a broker partner with Figure Wholesale, keep in mind, you're always going to get the best of a product. And you are also having that V4 when it comes to direct debt payoff. So just a little bit of a change, I guess, when it comes to FAM, but don't worry. I'm sure they're going to get that added on here soon.
True. Refi, I think it's at least 3 monthly payments they have to make on a HELOC before they can pay it back.
Yep.
We have a contingency for 12 months. We got rid of that. So, Anna, you'll be able to do that once you guys have that feature, set up. Ayeda is asking about fixed rate products. This HELOC is a fixed rate product. We do not have a variable option at this time. Does that mean we won't in the future? I'm not sure, but currently it is a fixed rate HELOC, which actually is very beneficial, I think.
And Cindy asks about Homebridge HELOCs. So here's the deal. Listed properties, A-OK. Check internally. Some of those retail partners out there disable it. But for Figure Wholesale and a whole bunch of different types of partnership types, we got that working just fine. And in fact, so many different of our partners will focus solely on this because it's the cheapest alternative to, say, a bridge loan product. So this is a real big, powerful thing. We're going to fund as soon as 5 business days, right? It's a really quick process for them. They'll just go in, they'll be able to go ahead and do that listed property. So you'll see that on the inquiry tool, a selection that says, hey, is this listed? I do see a question here saying, hey, Texas, is there a minimum loan amount? Yeah, Texas does have a minimum loan amount. What, 35,000, I believe, Reef, in Texas?
Yeah,
More
correct.
specifically, Texas does not allow listed properties. I did want to throw that in there. Sorry about that. Their rules, not ours.
True. Yep, 35K. That's what my client and I discuss a loan. Okay, yeah, shoot us an email, right? And we'll be more than happy to help you out with strategy or figuring out a scenario. No problem at all. And I think we have
Ooh, that's a fun question there, very much from Anna. When it comes to DSCR in Venezuela, no, not necessarily here. I know FAM isn't on our DSCR product yet. Keep in mind, everyone, DSCR, we are in the testing phase with that right now. We are still working on it. It's been doing swimmingly. It's just because everything's automated. We don't have underwriters. We're just making sure everything works smoothly before we get it out to the full mass. So once we do with DSCR, I'm very excited about that, right? National, international residents. This is something where they can do refinance with that cash out up to $1 million, which is pretty fun to me. So stay tuned for that, really. DSCR, I think, is going to be really, really big.
Yeah, And Tom's asking a question about a loan being funded and how to kind of figure out statements and things like that. This is a great question. So your client's application portal actually converts to a servicing portal once funding is over. It could take 1 or 2 weeks or so, depending on different things, but it essentially is going to convert over to a servicing dashboard. In that servicing dashboard, you're going to be able to see payment date, funds available to redraw. You can execute redraws. You can make additional payments there, all that good stuff. And we actually have a servicing department that will help with anything post loan, right? So during the application process, you don't want to reach out to servicing, but when it is post funding, servicing will be your point of contact. So I will put that information in the chat so you guys all have it. But basically, there's a phone number you can call, and there's also an email address you can email. But again, this is going to be for primary applicants right after they've been funded. Do not send any, pre-loan or loan questions that way. And I think Chad's had his hand up for a while. We can try to see if Chad wants to talk real quick. I know we're coming on time, but if
Yeah,
Chad,
let's go ahead and end on Chad here. Chad, what do we got?
oops.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good, very good.
Hey, we're new at this, so apologize if you covered this, but so the new inquiry, total annual income box, and then to the right is other income. So if I got a borrower, 8,000 a month is retirement, pension, and Social Security, 2,000 a month is rental income. So do I take 24,000 for the total annual rental income on the right side and the rest goes on the left? Is it supposed to be everything on the left and then separating out on the right how much of it's rental? How do those two boxes work? I guess is the question.
Ooh, that's a very good question, Reef. I honestly want you to take that one since you're the one who usually goes ahead and helps LOs with these when it comes to this kind of information. So go right ahead, I'd say.
Sure, no problem. So you have two boxes, right? So that first box is primary income. So think of that as W-2, self-employed, whatever the case is. Primary income, put that there as an annualized gross number. Use spousal income if applicable. Make it one value, put that in there. Rental income, you can think of it as an annualized number, and you can put it in the rental box on the right side. So there's usually two boxes when we do an inquiry. Alex showed this earlier. You can add that in there. So if they're getting $1,000 a month in rental income, put 12 grand in that box. If they have assets, so think of like 401ks, Roths, brokerage accounts, whatever the case is. Let's say they have $5 million across 5 different retirement accounts. You can put $5 million in that second box. And if they have that $12,000 of rental income, go ahead and put that $12,000 with that as well and make it 5 million, 12,000. That would be your way to do it. The system will do the calculations itself automatically. You don't need to do it. So hopefully that answers your questions. Let me know if it doesn't.
Yeah, that helps. One last question. I've got kind of admin access here. So I'm seeing some of my bankers have not sent an offer out. It generated it. There's an offer sitting there. They did not get it sent out. Can I send it out for them? I get to the page here where it's authorized signatory. It lets me put my name in. Can I do that to send it on their behalf, or do they have to be the ones that send it if they're the LO?
They're the ones that have to send it as the LO, and the reason is that authorized signatory is going to go on the broker borrower agreement as a part of that. So I would just call them, email them, kick them, tell them to get in there and just finish that. And then they can go through. It'll send that automated email out to the borrower. And then if you need, you can always copy that borrower link to get that borrower started.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, that right there, that's what we're here for, right? You can email us, schedule time with us, ask us those kind of questions, get that kind of help. We are here to support. So we put those support options in there. Thank you all for attending. We'll be getting an email out. We'll be putting this recording on our YouTube channel. Let us know how we can provide assistance. Get out there, make a lot of money off these HELOCs, help a lot of people. And with that, see ya.
See you guys.